Hey my friends, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. Today we're looking at the 2016 and now 2017 Ford Explorer Platinum, the new top of the line. Based on the popular sport model with that twin-turbo V6, they added a lot more features and a lot more luxury, almost Lincoln-level luxury, without the Lincoln suit. When they styled the Platinum, they didn't really go crazy and make it look completely different than the standard Explorer. In fact, from across a parking lot, you might have a hard time telling this from the rest of the line. What they did do, though, is they really tuned into the finishes, giving it more of a premium look and details, and that starts with its own grille here, which has a satin chrome finish. That satin chrome also down there on the lower fascia. Headlights, these are LED headlights with daytime running lamps and signature light-ups that really look nice when you're going down the road. The wheels are also larger, 20-inch wheels with their own unique design. Now the Sport does have 20-inch wheels, but a little bit different style there. Down the side here you can see that those satin chrome accents continue down on the lower rockers, the mirror caps, as well as those door handles. As we come down the side here and around to the back, the only thing I really think they could have done to make this look more premium is perhaps body color down there low instead of that black plastic. But that said, the premium look does continue with more of the satin chrome trims. You can see that up there on the roof rails. And down here you've got a nice skid plate design just like up front and big, huge dual exhaust outlets. The interior is really where your money's spent with the Platinum, and that starts with the Nirvana leather treatment. It's a higher level leather than the standard Fords you're going to find, and here on the seats you're going to see that you've got nice diamond stitched treatments down here on the side. You've got perforated leather in the center, and that's because they're both heated and cooled. And up here you've actually got a nice Platinum logo embroidered into the seat as well, but it doesn't stop there. That leather also goes over here to the door panels, but it also spreads across the dash. The entire dashboard here is stitched in leather, as well as the tops of the door panels here. They've also added genuine ash wood, genuine aluminum, that goes along the dash, and here on the steering wheel, one of the first for Ford as they tell me, that logo on the steering wheel is actually all brushed aluminum for the Ford Oval. The instrument cluster is actually unique as well. It's a 10-inch TFT digital screen, but it lights up as an analog. Very nice. It's actually sort of a hand-me-down from Lincoln. The center stack doesn't have wood on it, but it's nicely trimmed with a number of different materials. And down here, you've got a nice storage area for your phone. It fits down in there. You've got ports down there to plug it in. Lots of storage here as well. Now, sitting here, these seats are very comfortable, and for a few reasons. First of all, the seating position is very good, but the second thing is these are also multi-contour seats, another hand-me-down from Lincoln, so to speak, and that might not be a nice way to put it, but they're very comfortable and they're adjustable in so many ways. You can use a touchscreen to adjust them, or if you learn the different controls down here on the side of the seat, you can actually use those as well. But there's a lot of different ways to adjust them to get them just the way you want them. Now this does have a power tilt and telescoping steering wheel, so getting it right, also very easy, and you can store those over here with the memory settings. A very cool touch. This also has a dual sunroof, which is, I would say, comparable to a panoramic sunroof, but you do have a big bar in the middle, so it's really technically two sunroofs. The forward section does open, it slides as well as it tilts, and even though it does take up a little bit of headroom, you'd never notice it because the headroom in here is actually very good on its own. Rear seat passenger space for the second row isn't too bad. These seats actually have a higher than normal seating position, and that's something I always look at with a crossover because a lot of them you sit really low and your knees are perched up. Here that's not happening at all. Now legroom, pretty good. These seats here about halfway forward to halfway back, and so you can see I've got plenty of space, and there's also some adjustments here. I can slide, which actually helps for that third row back there if you want to give them a little bit more space. And you've also got a recline adjustment on both of these seats, and we do have a center console here because this one does have the captain's chairs. Amenities back here, these are heated seats in the Platinum. We do have the moonroof, and headroom, even with that moonroof, is still pretty good. There's vents back here, but they're up here in the roof, not down on the console, and that's actually a little bit better because they're closer to your face where you're going to feel it a little bit better when it's hot or if it's cold. Now third row passengers, as you can see back there, space is pretty good. Third rows in SUVs typically pretty cramped, mostly for kids, but in this particular case, there's actually room for adults back there. There's plenty of legroom, and it sits up high enough that you can actually fold a real size adult back there. And getting back there, the seat here, it folds and tumbles forward, allows pretty easy access. Setting the Explorer apart from some of its competitors is the deep well behind its third row seat that allows for generous storage even when you're using the third row. Under the floor is also a temporary spare tire. Included on the Explorer Platinum are the power folding third row seats that can be lowered, one or both, by a touch of a button, either folded forward or completely stowed away for a flat cargo floor. Additionally, the second row seats can be folded flat to extend that cargo floor all the way forward. Of note, the captain's chair option we have does bring with it a center console that sticks up above the floor level. Standard 60/40 split seating would have the flat floor all the way across. Well, they've really done a wonderful job making this interior beautiful to look at, and it smells good, it's aromatic, a lot of nice materials. We're still in a Ford, which means that some of the fit and finish in here isn't quite as good as it should be, I think, at this price tag. And some of the materials, still some cheap materials next to the good materials, base level materials. So overall, I give the interior 4 out of 5 stars. Because we're in a 2016 model, the infotainment system in this is the old My Ford Touch, one of the worst infotainment systems in the business. It just is. It's difficult to use. It doesn't work very well. It's complex. It's frustrating. It does sound good, but it just doesn't have the usability we expect today. And that's all I really need to say, because the 2017 models are out. They have the Sync 3. So if the infotainment system really matters to you, choose a 2017, because the Sync 3 system that's in the 2017 is really one of the best in the business. Both worlds in the same vehicle. It just depends on the year. So infotainment in this one gets 3 out of 5 stars. Under the hood is the most powerful engine in its class, a 365 horsepower twin turbocharged EcoBoost V6 at 3.5 liters. With 350 pound-feet of torque, it comes with a fully automatic all-wheel drive system and a 6-speed automatic transmission as standard equipment. So how does it go? And 60. Pretty powerful. It moves this thing pretty good for being as heavy as it is. 365 horsepower sounds like a lot, but it's not Mustang GT acceleration. One thing I will point out is you noticed how quiet it is. It doesn't really make a lot of racket. This is a very quiet vehicle inside, a lot of that sound deadening, but these EcoBoosts actually don't make a lot of noise unless they go to the trouble to make them noisy, give them sound, and they really didn't do that here. This really does fit the luxury image that goes along with the Platinum here. Now this transmission, the 6-speed, it can be a little bit rough shifting sometimes, mostly in stop and go traffic around town, but as you saw just now, I have it in sport mode. I use the paddle shifters. They work pretty responsively, and that's always a good thing, especially in American vehicles. They tend to be the worst at giving you a responsive paddle shifter, and these actually did pretty good. I'm impressed in that way. All the power and fun this has does come at the cost of fuel economy, though. This is rated at 18 mpg combined, and that's exactly what I got in my week of driving with it, even with a little bit of having fun. Though it is what's promised, it's still pretty thirsty, so the powertrain gets 4 out of 5 stars. Now we've got all the horsepower and the barn burning out of the way, we can talk a little bit about how this thing rides and handles. Now this does have a slightly stiffer suspension than you're going to find on the standard Explorer to handle this extra horsepower. And the 20-inch wheels and tires also a little bit more performance oriented. So what does that mean? Well, it means you can throw this thing into a corner a little bit faster than you can the normal Explorer, but it's still pretty softly sprung. You do have pretty high center of gravity, and there's still quite a bit of roll, quite a bit of pitch. So if you try to drive it too aggressively, especially throwing it into a curve at speed, you're going to get a white knuckle moment you might not have expected. This just isn't meant for that. Now when it comes to ride, very quiet. I'm on a noisy patch of highway here, and even with these larger wheels and tires, the road noise isn't too bad at all. It feels pretty stable. I'm not getting a lot of float that's normally associated with big Fords. One thing I will point out is this one has this moonroof, and I'm getting quite a bit of wind noise from that, especially at freeway speeds. If you go 70, 75, that thing makes quite a bit of noise. Even though this is a streetwise luxury sport version of the Explorer, it's still an SUV, therefore we'd still expect to be able to take it off the pavement and have it still give somewhat civilized a driving experience. And out here on the Desert Washboard Road, what I'm finding out is This is tuned for a good handling experience on the pavement, and what that means is there's not a lot of isolation, there's not a lot of tolerance for the rougher surface, because it does have these 20-inch wheels that is transmitting in here pretty well the vibration from this road. The other thing is the structure, especially with this roof up here, the interior trim, I'm getting a lot of shuddering, a lot of vibration in this interior trim in here. So the ride that's pretty nice out there on the pavement gets pretty harsh pretty quick when you bring it out here into the rough. So all in, I give the chassis 4 out of 5 stars. Measuring quality in the Explorer Platinum, the paint finish is good, as is the body panel alignment. Inside, however, fit and finish remains less than one would expect at its price in spite of its top quality trims. We also experienced a number of rattle, squeaks, and wind noises. Quality score comes in at 4 of 5 stars. Alright friends, wrapping it up for the Explorer Platinum, I think my takeaway here is that if you want a Lincoln level of features and a Lincoln level of trim and luxury, but you don't want a Lincoln, this is your vehicle right here. It's still in the Ford family, but it has a lot extra that you wouldn't normally expect to have with a Ford. And the price on this one, getting into the mid-50s here, and even though it does have a Lincoln level of luxury, it's not quite the Lincoln price if you were to look at something comparably equipped here. Now, it still does have the Ford level of everything else, so I put value at 4 stars. When you put that in with everything else we've already talked about, we're at 4 stars for the review. I'm Sam Haymar for Test Driven TV. I hope you enjoyed the ride. Little personal story, I've been driving this thing this week and it seems like everybody in front of me is going dead slow. I can't figure it out. What's with the water this week? Are they drinking it? Why are they all going so darn slow? Well, it hits me today. I'm out here on my video shoot. I'm on the highway and I see one of our Arizona highway patrolmen in their white Explorer. And it hits me. Everyone thinks I'm a cop. So they're slowing down, they're going 65 in the 65, not the obligatory 10 over, and I have to pass everybody. They think I'm a cop. Anyway, if you like the test drive you just saw, click on the link right here, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We test drive 1 to 2 vehicles a week, plus we have a new video almost every other day. There's always something new. So stay tuned.